with CNN political commentator Karen Finney, CNN opinion contributor Sophia Nelson, and Republican strategist Malik Abdul. Thank you all. And you heard a little bit about what he was saying. You know, first of all, there's been a lot of criticism of the president's performance. But there's also a lot of criticism about the former president's performance in terms of the amount of lies he was saying and beyond. And really, I wonder for many voters, it was form or substance, not over or under. Karen, I want to get to this point, though, the New York Times editorial board. They are not mincing words. Are they being rash or rational?
You know, if I were Joe Biden, I would actually take a page out of the Donald Trump playbook and go on offense against the New York Times on this one and say, I am not going to let the New York Times tell me what to do or how to run this country, right? Like, I actually would do that because part of what they need to do right now is get back on offense. I mean, you know, I've said this earlier today. I will stipulate to the facts of the case. It was a terrible night, no question. Now the question is, between now and election, which is really September, by the way, because when early voting starts, how do you make sure that you regain people's confidence? And look, two things can be true. Yes, the president had a bad night last night, no question. At the same time, we also saw Donald Trump stand up there for 90 minutes with a torrent of lies, doubling down on policies that our own reporting has said would increase costs for the middle class. So there's plenty there, you know, in terms of, you know, should he get out and what does that mean? Look, I agree with Chris. Like, I think it's unrealistic. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the chances of then coalescing behind one person. But also, I think Joe Biden, look, he's done the job. And I think the point that you made is, does one 90-minute debate tell us everything we need to know?
Well, let me ask you about this, Malik, because first of all, it's not the oddest thing that an incumbent, all issues aside, an incumbent president doesn't often perform well the first time around. They're being the president at some points in time. Having said that, though, both of these men want 8 years. They don't want to be one-term presidents. When it comes to Trump, who is really claiming a kind of victory, there are many who are criticizing the statements that he's made, the lies that were said. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, for voters on the Republican side in particular, did they get enough to hang their hat on to say, aha, Trump can be my guy?
I think they did in this case because there is a difference in the type of debate performances that both of them initially gave. So Joe Biden, and the problem that Joe Biden has is that his debate performance fed into narratives about Joe Biden. In Donald Trump's case, are you surprised that Donald Trump was lying? Probably. People would say no. But Donald Trump, because the expectations that Democrats and many people had of Donald Trump, that he wouldn't do as well, they actually lowered expectations for Donald Trump. And I think that Donald Trump actually outperformed. He focused on policy. Yes, Donald Trump said things that he exaggerated because he does that all the time. But if you are a Republican and you were wondering, can Donald Trump be disciplined? Can Donald Trump, for 90 minutes in a debate with Joe Biden, be disciplined, not feel compelled to just cut Joe Biden off? Because that's what we've seen with Donald Trump. So Donald Trump actually showed at least Republican voters, and I'm hearing this all over the place, something different, and it was the discipline that he demonstrated on last night.
Wow, Sophia, I got to tell you, and I think that a lot of what you say is accurate. I'm not challenging that, but what a low bar. I'm not that old, but I'm from a generation when we didn't get anything past a third place ribbon. Like, if you came in fourth, you just lost. Your parents weren't like, oh, that was great, you really tried. It was 1, 2, 3. This sounds like 1,046 is the standard here. Is that what Republican voters want?
I can't speak to what Republican voters want, but I thought that the fact of the matter is Donald Trump didn't have a good debate either. But the bar is so low, as you said, that we aren't going to focus on that, because what you saw, the way that CNN split the screen, and of course we love CNN, was the focus on President Biden. Like, he just looked like he was lost, like he didn't look into the camera. You know, like, we're looking into the camera now to talk to the audience. Even when you're off camera, you're looking into the camera. And so the contrast was stark in just the way it appeared. So you didn't pay attention to what Trump said because you couldn't take your eyes off of Biden and what Biden was doing. And that's what I heard. So I'm not sure what Republican voters want. But you know, my take on this debate's a little bit different. So I'll let you ask the question. I won't just cut you in.
Oh, okay, let me see. Now that I've been prompted by Sophia Nelson, there's an amazing op-ed that was written in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. who was it written by? Oh, it was you. It was talking about Kamala Harris as obviously the vice president, but really that the focus is now on her.
Yeah, I think that she was the winner last night. And you heard Congressman Ryan and others talk about it. And obviously, anybody who's as old as we are, Karen, I'm going to out us
She
here.
don't want to be with you right now.
We've been around a long time, right?
you're talking
And what I mean by that is the vice president is traditionally the hatchet person, right? They're the person you send out to do the job to deal with the hard things in the campaign. Vice President Harris stepped all the way up last night, and she did it.
Let me go back to you, Chris, because you're in the wings for us as well. I mean, what do you make of that? Obviously, normally a vice presidential candidate is not going to control the voters' momentum. But it's increasingly important, as we've seen. We still don't know who the running mate will be for Donald Trump. We know it won't be Mike Pence. When you look at this contrast between the potential VP pick and who Vice President Kamala Harris has shown herself to be, including last night, in a lot of her interviews, what do you think is going to be the focus?
Well, I think she's found her voice. I think, and particularly last night, she was terrific doing cleanup for Joe Biden. And I think she's been really effective, especially on women's reproductive rights, and she'll be deployed for that. But the vice president, at the end of the day, really doesn't make much difference in presidential elections. Just one point on something Sophia said. This was a bizarre debate, and I think Bob Woodward put his finger on something important, and it's the question, what happened? The State of the Union Joe Biden was very effective on his feet. So was the Joe Biden who was campaigning yesterday in North Carolina. Somebody else was on the stage last night. And I think we need to find out why. We need to do more reporting about this because it was really a jaw-droppingly bad performance. And there's got to be some explanation for it.
Well, I won't speculate as to what. I mean, North Carolina was today, but what are you suggesting that between the difference between these different dates? Obviously, these are months apart, State of the Union.
Yeah.
There's an audience in one, there's a crowd in a campaign in the other.
Well, it can
and
be
last night.
any number of things. I mean, in 1984, Ronald Reagan had a terrible first debate, and Nancy Reagan was convinced that he was just overbriefed, and she tried to fire the guy, Dick Darman, who was in charge of the briefing. Maybe that happened here, but I think when you look at that, again, that stunning performance by Biden or lack of performance, I think there's something bigger there, and I think we need to do more reporting and find out what it is.
Well, assuming there is something, I'm sure that the diligent reporting will uncover it. It has not to this date, but maybe it's like President Obama said, who articulates, sometimes you just have a bad day. Not everyone can come to life at night like Laura Coates. Thank you so much, everyone.